So I read some books, planned another vacation, and made my own merch. Let's jump in and talk about it. All right, so let's jump into channel and life updates. So, as I mentioned in the intro, I started messing around with things a little bit more on my Cricut machine. I went through and decided, hey, let me try making my own sticker. So I went through and made some already over book stickers. So I decided to put one on my shirt, and yeah, it was fun. It was actually not as hard as what I thought it was going to be. It was actually pretty easy. So I'm going to start messing around with this a little bit more. Maybe making some different kind of stuff I can just put around in my office. Being doing something different with it. Just between the binding, that takes a little bit while. So I was looking for a project that doesn't take as long. So I got that. I think I'm also going to do some t-shirts. I think I'm going to make my own t-shirts and hats and try that out. So what else is going on? I am going out of town tomorrow, and I'm going to be out for a week. We're going to northern Georgia, right on the Tennessee border. We're going to be going hiking, which should be a lot of fun. I am super excited. The kids haven't been hiking before, so they haven't seen waterfalls and stuff like that. So we're going to do that with them. That should be a lot of fun. And the little town we're staying in it's very cool. I've been there once before as a small kid, so it's gonna be very cool going through and checking out, seeing their excitement, and going hiking and all that kind of fun stuff. So one final hoorah before school starts back up and life starts getting hectic again for the kids. So hopefully this should be a lot of fun. It shouldn't be too much of a long drive. So let's just jump into what did I go through and read. Going through and reading two books. The first book I ended up going through and reading was Alone Together by S.S. Fitzgerald. This is a fun, engaging zombie story. I really enjoyed the characters in this story. The story arcs were great. There was a few what the hell moments, which I'm a huge fan of when it comes to this kind of subgenre, because it starts getting to when you read a lot of the subgenre, you start noticing a lot of patterns, and you start seeing the same thing being done over and over again. Luckily, in this book, you don't get that. It feels the same, but also it's very very different. To me, it gives off that 28 weeks later with George Romero type of form. So a lot of fun, a lot of chaos. I'm going to be doing a review on this very, very soon. So look out for that. But Alone Together by S.S. Fitzgerald was fantastic. The other book that I just got done with yesterday was There Will Be Thousands. This book was, oh my goodness, it was so good. It was so good. It was short, it packed a big punch. The characters are um, done so well. It hits so hard for being such a short book. The story starts out within the first chapter so dark, and it kind of levels out for a little bit. It doesn't stay that crazy and dark the whole book. But what I really like about this type of grim dark storytelling is the hope that it adds in there. It really strives for hope and redemption within this story. It's definitely worth a read. So you definitely need to go through and check out There Will Be Thousands. It was so well done. I'll have the link to everything in the description below, so you can go through and check out this book. Highly, highly recommend it. So jumping into what am I reading? So when I'm on vacation, I'm going to end up bringing two, maybe three books. But I know for a fact I'm bringing two. One of them already started. I started first thing this morning. Was Blessings of the Damned by C. Vincent. And this book, I'm only a few chapters in, but it starts out also very, very crazy. It starts out with just a big murder spree. There was supposed to be a hanging, and something went through and happened, and then there ended up being a huge murder spree at the very beginning of this book. It starts out nuts. It gets you wrapped into the story very, very quickly. This one's also very short. I think it's 100 and some pages, so it's starting off strong. and starting off with a banger and just knocking things out. So I'm super excited to continue this. Probably going to have this done, honestly, within the next day or two at most. And then I should be jumping into the second book that I want to go through and finish, or start and finish, which is book one of JCM's Burn, Wistful Ascending. This is I've heard a lot of great things. This is a superhero uh, story, but a little bit different, a little bit darker based off of the information I received and heard about this book. So I have it on my Kindle, and I also have the audiobook as well for book one. So I'm going to be going through and reading it and listen to it. Probably listen to most of it as I'm driving to vacation. And then when I get there, I'll finish reading the rest of it through the Kindle. So super excited to go through and read this. Heard a lot of great things. And then Joe has his new book coming out soon. I think it's, can't recall if it's a seventh book or eighth book. I don't recall, Joe. I'm sorry, man. So I got a lot of books to catch up with if I do go through and love this book as much as I think I'm going to. So I'm going to have a lot of fun jumping into his series and jumping on in, and should be a good old time. So let's jump into what did I go through and buy, pre-order, or receive in the book mail. I did go through and receive a book by the great Mike Mollman. This is a ebook of his newest book, Proxima Station. To be honest, I am not going to go through and read the back of this book. This is one of those I want to go in completely blind into. I know it's a shorter book as well, which is something I've been doing a lot more lately, is reading some shorter books instead of these big honky 800 page plus books. I've been reading like close in the 2 to 400 range, which has kind of been that my sweet spot lately, which has been fantastic. I've been able to read a lot more stories and trying out new authors. So I'm really excited to jump into Mike's book. I am going to be talking with Mike coming up in I think the 22nd. So in a few weeks, Mike's going to be on the channel. So the plan is I want to go through and have this story completely read by the time of that conversation. We can talk a little bit more details and get into non-spoiler discussions on his story. So it should be a lot of fun. So that's all that I got. I didn't go through and buy anything else. I've been kind of saving some money because I got vacations coming up and I want to be able to spoil everybody. So let's jump into what is happening within the next 2 weeks. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be out of town for about a week starting tomorrow. But when I'm gone, I do have multiple reviews coming out. So instead of having my weekly recap next week, I'm going to have 2 reviews next week when I normally only have 1. So on Monday, the 14th, I'm going to be reviewing Envoys of War by the fantastic Dave Lawson. You're not going to want to go through and miss this one. This book is crazy. It's chaotic. It is a blast. There's so much humor, so much depth within the characters. You definitely want to go through and watch that review on Monday of Envoys of War. On Friday, the 18th, I'm going to be reviewing the Three Rivers Plague by the Forbes brothers. This book was a different twist on the apocalypse type of story. It was a little bit more on the fun side of the house. You're going to be going through and following a band, which is very cool and different compared to this subgenre. So look out for that review on Friday, the 18th. And then on Monday, the 21st, I will be doing a review of Alone Together by S.S. Fitzgerald. So this book, I've already hyped it up that I just finished this, and a review is going to be out Monday, the 21st. You definitely want to go through and watch that one. Then on Tuesday, the 22nd, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be interviewing the great Mike Mollman. The 24th, I'm going to be interviewing, this is a rescheduled interview with the great Daniel Klaus. And then Friday, the 25th, will be my weekly wrap up where I talk about what's been going on these past 2 weeks. I talk about all the amazing books that I went through and read, talk about vacation, whatever else nonsense that happens between now and then. So let's jump into the indie author spotlight. So I want to go through and spotlight Brian Wilson. He's the author of The Power of the Stars series. I've heard so many great things about this series. I hear it's engaging, I hear it's entertaining, with a fantastic blend between sci fi and fantasy elements, which I hear is a must read for those looking for that great, perfect blend into those genres. I personally have not read the series. But I hear from a lot of individuals who I respect their book opinions have said nothing but amazing things about Brian's work. So I'm super excited to get to them eventually. And so if you're looking for that sci-fi fantasy blend, definitely go through and check out Brian Wilson's series, The Power of the Stars. All three books are out now, and I know they're all available on Kindle Unlimited. So I'll go through and have the link to all this stuff listed below so you can go through and check out his works. The final section is BookTuber Spotlight. I want to go through and spotlight today Steve at Heroic Book Adventures. Now, Steve is such a chilled guy. We've spoken one off here and there, but I do really like watching his channel. It has that very relaxing, chill kind of vibe to it. He does all of his reviews outside, so you get a different perspective on not only from his book recommendations and the book reviews, but also his environment. You know, he doesn't have that bookshelf behind him. He's not in a coffee shop like some other people do. He's outside, he's with nature, he's at a table, and it's very relaxing and chill. And it feels like you're talking to a friend when he's going through and doing his review. So he is fantastic. I've loved every single one of his videos I went through and watched. So I go through, have all of his information in the description, go through and check him out. So that's it. That's going on this week. I really appreciate you stopping by, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And I will talk to all of you again in a few weeks after vacation. So have a good one. Don't forget to like, subscribe. You know what to do. Till I see you in the next one.